Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hey guys, it's Kim.
Hey, Kim.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. I just had a bunch of technical difficulties because we had a new browser switch for logging in virtually. And we got them done, figured out in time.
Great.
I was happy about that.
So we're expecting from Seattle, we're expecting Stephanie as well, right? And then maybe Kaylee and
Kaylee wasn't sure if she'd be able to make it because Jen was going to try to make it. I forwarded it to, it looks like they all should have it forwarded to them. Have you seen Stephanie or David today, or are you at home?
I'm at home.
This is Stephanie. I just popped on.
Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, guys.
Good. It looked like I saw an error on our way down here. I was like, I think we forwarded it to her. So I thought you wanted to say if you're on.
I was like, she'll be coming.
Yep.
You know, you throw a weekend in there and
Seriously. On a Monday.
Yeah. Aditi, can you hear us? Yeah.
Yes, hi. Yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
well.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you.
Great. And do you know if Jen is going to be coming today or?
Well, I think she would try to hop on the call.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure if she'll be able to make it.
Okay. I'm thinking, you guys, that we get started at this point because we're going to need the full hour. What do you think, Sally and Michelle?
Okay.
Sound okay to you? Because we're 3 minutes after, and so
we have Stephanie and Aditi on, and so you're not important to him, but those are the coordinators we want on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know. I think
There's
yeah.
Did you guys say was Dale gonna join?
Dale cannot, so Stephanie is going to train Dale afterwards.
Okay.
We haven't already talked about that one, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we can start. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we go ahead and get started? And then Aditi, I don't know if you had talked to Kaylee or not, but she wasn't able to join on Friday or joined really late, and so I think the plan was that if she couldn't join today, that you would train her, and probably the same with Jen. Jen was going to try, I know, but so the game plan would be that you would be able to share this and train them after. Hopefully, we'll do a good job of training you.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. So we'll go ahead and get started because there's a lot of information here. And so we want to have the most time we can to go through this. So this is Aditi. I don't know if you and I have ever met directly, but my name, this is Lisa Opapari. I'm one of the PIs on the study. And what we're maybe you can flip to the next slide, Sally, and maybe we'll just skip past this one and go one more to kind of just talk about our objectives. So what we want to do today, we're really excited. You're our first group that we're training with the Eureka app and platform. So we're really excited to be at the stage to finally be able to do this. And we want to go through a couple of things. One, to familiarize everyone with the Eureka app and how it will run in the study. Familiarize people with the admin panel, the part that the coordinators and the clinic staff will use to manage all the Eureka components. And then we want to teach study coordinators the Produce onboarding process and sort of how that works, how you get the app to one of your new participants, and then teach study coordinators how to monitor Eureka app adherence, how your patients are using the app as they're going through the study. And that'll also be relevant for dietitians as well, because you'll be looking at the data as well as people go through. So that's what we're hoping to get through today. We've made this deck to be very comprehensive, so that hopefully it serves as a really good resource for you after this call, for you to review the app and see, kind of walk yourself through how to use it. The other thing that we're going to do, so there's a lot of screens in this, but the point is that you'll have this then as a reference. The other thing that we'll do, and Sally and Michelle can help us with this at the end or after this call, is you'll get access to both the app as well as the platform that we're going to show you, the administrator platform, so that you'll be able to get in and play around with it before the study actually starts, to become familiar with it. So the first thing that we're going to go through is, how do you set up a new patient? We're just going to take it from the top. You have a new participant. They want to be a part of the study. What do you do as a coordinator to get them the Eureka app? So today we're only talking about technology. We're not talking about the whole baseline interview and everything you do, but you're doing the baseline session. You've consented your participant. You're ready to go. You need to get the participant this app and get them randomized for the study. How does that process carry out? So the Eureka Administrator Platform is the study team's access to everything related to the Eureka Produce Study app. So that's where you're going to do all of your work as a coordinator. That's where the docs will go to see the data, the dietitians will go to see the data, etc. And you just plug that into your browser. The link is here as well, but that's how this is the access to it. Next slide. And so when you click that into your browser, this is what it looks like. You don't want to be fooled by the fact that it says parent sign up, because that's not, your parents are not going to go to this page. The admin platform, the thing that you're doing on your computer or laptop, is just for administrators for this study. And so you'll just click the login button. And when you hit that login button, you will put in your username and password, which you'll have from us, and you'll hit login. When you do that, you'll come to a page that looks like this. And right now, what we're going to be working off of is how do you set up a new participant in the study. And so what you're going to do, and this is really only has to be a one-time thing, actually. You don't have to do this process every time you're bringing a new participant on. You can do this one time, and then you'll see the participants basically set themselves up. So it's meant to be as streamlined as possible. But the first time you're going to set somebody up, this is what you'll have to do. So you'll click the settings link, and when you click that, you'll get into this screen, and you will click referrals. And when you do that, what you're going to see is a list of all the study sites that are in this study. We have 11 currently from ICN. And what you want to do is you want to get this link, that is the link that is specific for your clinic or your site, and you want to copy it and put that link in a place where you have access to it. Because the way you actually get the app to people and get people registered on this platform when they're ready is you send them this link. So you don't, and sometimes, like in some studies when we're registering participants in technology as a coordinator, you are putting in their name and their date of birth and their registration number and all that stuff. You don't do any of that, actually. All you have to do to get a patient registered on the platform is get them this link, and they put their own information in through the app. So it's a pretty streamlined and quick process. So the first time, when you're getting started, you guys have to get yourself this link in a place that you can either text it to your families as they're registering for this study, or that you're going to email it to them, whatever is easiest for them on their phone and in your setting. And the only tricky thing here is you just have to grab your link. So right now, so this was Stephanie, you were doing this, you would look for the ID for your center, University of Washington, and then you cut and paste that. You copy that into either an email to yourself or a text to yourself, so that you could always have that available. And Aditi, you would similarly get the Stanford, copy and paste the Stanford link. So once you do that, that's a one-time thing where you're just giving yourself access to always have that link ready when you're ready to enroll participants. So when you're ready and you have a patient in the clinic and a parent in the clinic and you're ready to get them, they've consented and you're ready to get them on the platform, here's what you do. Here's the next steps. You have this, first step, you have this, you copy and email the link to yourself. So you've already done that probably ahead of time. So you just have access to that on your phone or your computer, however you're going to work with your participants. And then you text or email them that link when you're ready to start enrolling them on the platform. And what happens is the parent will click that link on their phone, and they will be, whether it's a text or an email message, they'll click that link and they'll be directly redirected to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to download the Eureka app. The link will figure out if it's on an iOS phone or an Android phone, and it will direct them to the appropriate Play Store. So it's a single link that will take them to the right place. Now this slide is a little bit busy. It's a little overwhelming. There's a lot of colors going on, but we wanted to show you both screens of what happens. So they click that link, you text them that link, they click it, and here's where they're going to end up. Their phone will open up to the app. On the iOS is on the left. Oh, Android, excuse my typo, I was doing this right at the last minute. Android on the right, that should say, that's the screen that they'll get. And what they need to do is download the app, and the arrows point to where they download. This next screen shows you that, it's showing you it's installing. I think everyone's familiar with that. And then finally on the next screen, you will get to, it'll say, are you on both of those devices, it would say, are you ready to open this app? And you have a choice, right? You can, just like you would do when you're downloading an app for yourself, you can hit open or continue right here, or the person could go to their home page and they can click the app icon on their home page and it'll open. And when they do that, it will take them into the opening screen for the app where they register on the Eureka platform and for this study. So pretty basic app downloading. Hey, David, is that you?
Yes. First of all, this is amazing. It's fantastic, I have to say. But I was wondering, are we doing this in real time with the patient in the room, or is this something that after we get consent, they do this at home by themselves?
Yeah, no, we're doing this with the patient because, David, a couple things. One, this is how they get randomized, and they have to be randomized for the dietitian to know which intervention to teach, SCD or MSCD. And also it's where all the baseline data is collected, and we want that collected on the day that they're enrolled. And, we want to have maximal control over making sure that we have all that baseline data. So you're doing it. So not you, the physicians won't have to do it, but the coordinators will be doing this with the participants.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And so this is so that the parent opens the app, and this is the first screen that they'll see. This is what will pop up for them on their phones. And I'm not going to read it to you, but it's basically just a little introduction to the PRODUCE study. As you're working with your participants, we would encourage that you read it with them, to them, give them a second to read it and just take a look at it. Because again, it's going to help orient them to the study, which has got a lot of parts and is pretty complex. So they get the screen, they hit learn more, and here's where they start registering. Now, the thing throughout this slide deck, anything that we want to tell you about from our end, we've put in sort of a red box. And this is the first thing. We're asking for first and last name. This is about the parent. The parent is doing this on their phone. I don't care if the child is 17 years old in the study registering. We start with the parent. We'll get to the child in a second. But we always start with the parent and the parent phone. That link we give you goes to the parent and the parent phone. And this information the parent is putting in about themselves. It's not the child, it is their information. So they enter their first and last name. You hit next. They enter their date of birth. Again, theirs, not their child. You hit next. They enter their mobile phone number. You hit next. And what will happen is they will get a code texted to them as soon as they enter their mobile phone number, there's like a check on the system, right, that we have the right mobile phone, etc. They enter that code in, just a 4-digit code, and then they're ready to enter their password in. And they create a password, and then they're good. They're registered for the study, and and at this point, if you have the admin panel up, which you should, you will see them, and you refresh your browser, you will see them popping up, their name popping up on the, on the admin panel, because and indicating they're enrolled in the study. So it's a pretty streamlined and quick, I mean, we're talking a lot about it, but process here to get people registered or enrolled in the study. So the next slide that comes up is, again, just a little bit of a descriptor about Produce, trying to reinforce this whole concept of put your data in every day. It's really important. You need your data for this to be useful for you. And what the parent needs to do here is to click and say, sounds good, I'm in. And again, from the coordinator perspective, really, take the time to go through what's on that screen with participants, so that you're ensuring it's, again, just another opportunity for you to educate, ensure the parent is understanding, knows what the study is about, knows what they have to do, and you to hit the important points and high points with them. But if you've gone through that, sounds good, I'm in. Now, the next steps on the app there's a series of things that we'll continue to go through, from these notifications to signing up the child, because we'll get to the child getting registered, to then all those baseline questions that people need to do at the start of the study. And that's what's coming next on all these screens. So the first part, again, really important for our study, is that people enable notifications, right? This study, people will be using their app every single day, and we want them to get the notifications from us. We don't over-notify people, but we do remind them when it's time to enter their notifications. And so we want to let them know there's 2 sets of notifications. This one is it says participating in research requires enabling notifications, so they need to click OK. And then the next, I think there's one more screen, Eureka would like to send you notifications, alerts, etc., and we need them to click allow. And it's really critical that people do that for this study. But again, straightforward screens. Quick, should be very quick for you as a coordinator to work with them. So they're enrolled, and they're on the platform, and they've enabled notifications, and now here's where they start to learn a little bit about how this app is going to work and start to register their child as well. So again, welcome to the Produce study. Just tells them a little bit about the Produce study. They would click next, and now they start to see a little bit more information. So this is a scrolling screen. So we have it as top and bottom, but it would just be you'd scroll on the screen. This timeline is something that parents will see frequently throughout the app, and it's really to keep them oriented to where they are in the study. This is a really long study, right? 8 months. And so this timeline, if you start at the top, they're in baseline, which says now. And right now, they would be on their usual diet, right? They spend the first 2 weeks of the study on their usual diet, so the timeline shows them that. And then the timeline shows them what's coming up and when. So they start the first diet in 2 weeks. They'll start their next diet in 2 months from there. They'll go back to their A2, to their second round of their first diet in 4 months. They'll go back to their second round of their second diet in 6 months, and then in 8 months, they'll be looking at results review. And this timeline updates itself as appropriate throughout the study, and it'll pop up at various points throughout the study to help parents remember where they are. Next slide. And so we'll just continue through. The way this app is built is there's various points where it kind of tells you what you've got coming next and how long it takes. These lengths of time are probably a little exaggerated. The stuff usually goes quicker, but here we go. So they hit start. They're ready to continue doing some more of the work of the study. And what they're learning in this section is this app is built with where people can get points, sort of some gamification, if you will, for answering surveys and getting their tasks done. The points don't mean anything really. I mean, it's not like they can cash them in for anything, but the app has been built to talk about the points in terms of you're earning points for pediatric IBD, and the more people who are doing research and contributing their data, the more information we have to learn about pediatric IBD. This PRODUCE, this Eureka app is used in a lot of different research studies, and so some people are in multiple studies at a time, so they can see the kinds of points they're earning for different conditions, if you will. But it was just something that kind of came along with this app, but that's the concept of points, that people, can track how much they're contributing over the course of the study to learning more about pediatric IBD. So they get to start to get introduced to this concept of earning points for pediatric IBD. This screen again tells them a little bit about that what they're doing is supporting pediatric IBD, and the more data they enter, the more points they're earning for this cause. And again, they'll see these points coming up through various parts of the app, but it's just to kind of give them an introduction to that. So click next, and now they've reached the point where you're going to set up the child participant. So regardless of the child's age, if they're appropriate for the study, you do have to do some screens related to the child participant. So again, it's kind of set up, the child participant setup. It's called a survey. It's not really, it's just kind of the way this app is built. So again, they'll click the start survey button, if you will. And now for the first time is when they start to enter information about the child. Up until now, everything has been parent, the parent answering about themselves. So simple. What's your child's first name? They enter it, hit next. What's your child's last name? They enter it, hit next. What's your child's date of birth? And they'll enter that. Now note, for kids, if we can just go back for 1 second, for kids who are 14 and older, they will have the option of tracking and using the app on their phone as well, in addition to the parent. So depending on the child's age, you'll see different screens coming up after this. If a child's under 14, they don't have that option of tracking for themselves, so there's some screens that would be missing, if you will. Parents would not have that opportunity to see them. So you'll hit next after you enter the birth date, and then the gender of the child, and the child's disease type, and then again, what type of phone the child has. And in this case, the child was over 14, so they have the option of being able to track, if you will. So they see this child account creation. Now, if a child was not over 14, you would not see these screens. So if the parent would hit, start survey, and then this is how you set up the child account creation.
And then we have our own vitamin K.
There's a little bit of background noise going on. I don't know if somebody can hit mute. Thanks. Awesome.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Child account creation comes up for kids who are over 14. This is a really important screen because the decision that's made here, once this decision is made, you can't go back. So you gotta get these screens right. If you look at the screen, it'll say, does your child want to also use the app on their phone in addition to the parent? Or do they just want to track together with the parent on the parent's phone? And it can be done either way. The parent always is viewed as sort of the primary tracker. We want the parent to be putting in information every day. The child can track, and if they do, we hope they're putting in information every day or close to every day. But the child doesn't have to track. The parent and the child can work together, and the information goes on the parent's phone. It's their choice. If they say, let's track together on the parent's phone, again, because you cannot change this. Once it's done, it's done. They get sort of this warning screen, which is the one on the bottom, which says you've chosen that your child is not going to have their own account. This can't be changed. If correct, go ahead and click next. If you've made a mistake, go back, hit back, the back arrow, which is up on top. So again, all of these screens, we don't want parents doing them on their own. We really want you sitting with them and walking them through these screens. And this is a really key one to make sure that you guys are, that they're getting right. So if they click next, the child wouldn't track. They just move on to the next section of the app. If they do click yes, I want my child to track, they'll use their own phone. They would enter their child's phone number. At which point the child will receive a text. It will trigger a text message to go to the child, and that link for the app or Play Store that the parent had will now be sent to the child's child. And what will happen is once that child clicks that link that they're texted, what will come up for them is this is the first screen they'll actually see, which is type your new password. So the child is expected to set a password straight away for their account. And then really from there on out, what happens, whether the child is using their phone or the parent is using theirs, so if just the parent is going to be tracking and we're just doing this on parent's phone, or we've got parent and kid both doing this, we're now moving into the baseline survey section where people are starting to answer, sort of the data, the meat of this study. The screens are going to be very similar. They're going to be identical except for the fact one's phrased towards the child and one's phrased towards the parent. So we're not going to put both sets of screens here because it'd be a bit redundant. We're just showing you the parent surveys, but know that the child would look exactly the same except they're phrased for them. So this is the section where now we're going to start to see like the baseline surveys that parents and kids are completing. So again, there's a lot of these screen breaks where people, kind of breaks things up and say, okay, now you're ready to make an impact. You've got 9 things to do. It's going to take you about 9 minutes. Again, I think it's a little long the time, but at any rate, so they'll hit start. And these are the parent baseline surveys that they're going to complete. Now, the baseline surveys just completed one time at baseline, right? They're just seeing these things once. So here's what it'll look like. Now, Sally put a bunch of these on a screen because there's a lot of screens that parents will see. So this first baseline survey is really looking at expectations and what people's expectations of the study are. So we basically ask them, how helpful do you think the specific carbohydrate diet is? And they have a choice. Not at all helpful, not very helpful. The one thing that I want to point out to you is you can see as we're looking at these screens that there's this little gray box at the bottom that says more options at the bottom. People need to scroll because there's about 5 choices there that they can choose, in terms of how helpful they think it would be. So that gray box pops up and stays for a little bit on the screen. It does go away so it doesn't block things. But please, depending on the screen size, everyone's phone is different. People may need to scroll to see all the options. So if you can, again, help people do that. So we ask them how helpful they think the specific carbohydrate is, the modified specific carbohydrate is. If they had to choose between one or the other, what do they think is going to be more helpful? And then which symptoms are they really targeting for their child? And you can read these things yourself, but like that option was a check all that apply, like which symptoms you really care about. You could check one or more than one, which it says on the screen, on this last screen on the far right. So they'll complete those. Then parents will move to the next set of baseline surveys. The next set of surveys is about the parents' worries. And it's basically a anxiety scale, if you will, for parents. But again, the red box is really important. Parents answer these baseline surveys about themselves. They're not answering about their child. So the wording is correct. In the past 7 days, I felt fearful. The parent is answering for themselves. How did they feel? And this will just, I think, be important on your end to make sure that you're always pointing out to the parent, please answer this about yourself. Answer this question. When we want them to answer about their child, the question will say, my child. This anxiety survey has, I think, 8 screens. Sally's got 4 of them here. And if we flip to the next page, we'll see the next 4. Very quick, easy to answer. Same point here. You can see there's this gray box. This is a scrolling one. Not everything fits on one screen, especially if you have a smaller phone screen. So parents do have to scroll, and if you can, help them understand that, that's important. So anxiety questions, they answer them. They move on to the third survey, baseline survey, which is now about their mood. Again, 8 questions about their mood. Same thing, parents answering about themselves. Then we keep going. So those are the parent baseline surveys, and they're not going to see those again. Now we're moving into, it's just a very smooth transition, like parents won't recognize this transition, but just for your understanding, it's a very smooth transition into daily surveys. They finish those baseline surveys, and they're going to now see the surveys that they're going to get every single day for the next 8 months. And there's 2 surveys here that they're asked to complete every day. So And again, the red box here is just to now tell you that now everything else we're asking is about the child. It should be fairly obvious. Now we're starting to ask about stools and stool frequency and those kinds of things. And right, these are now going to be about the child. But first they'll get stool. We'll ask about stool consistency. So they'll be asked to select what stool consistency have looked like. And again, they're cued to today. Okay, so now these are daily trackers. We want to know what it's been like, today. So if there's nothing that has happened yet today, they do have to choose something. So they would think about yes, the past 24 hours kind of today. Again, this is just showing you the scrolling. The part 1 and 2 is just showing you that it scrolls. So again, important to point out to parents. Next screen they get is stool frequency. And again, they just tap that and put a number in, number of stools today. The final screen that we have on this page is what pops up after it. And this is, occasionally they'll see these things pop up where it's just showing them the points that they're earning for pediatric IBD. It's just a little bit of the reinforcement gamification thing going on. After they finish those 2 daily surveys, today on this first day that you're registering them and they're doing the baseline, they'll also get the weekly surveys. These are surveys obviously come once a week, every 7 days, and they'll get their first ones here, in the clinic with you, and then they won't see these for another 7 days. So these weekly surveys are first GI symptoms, 4 questions, same kind of this. And this is asking them now, kind of orienting them in the past 7 days, because these are weekly, right? So the wording of the question really helps you, asking them about my child's poop so they know they're answering about their child. And again, they're directed to make sure they scroll because there's 5 choices here. So there's 4 GI symptom questions. Then we ask them about pain interference, same kind of thing. I think there's a few more of these. I think there might be 8 pain interference questions that they answer. And then finally, the last, they get depending if they have Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, this scale will be different depending on their disease, but they get a set of questions related to Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. And then again, you can see they end up seeing this, how many points they've earned after they do that. And then finally, the last quest, Sally has both Crohn's and the UC here. So you can see what the questions are like depending on the patient's disease type that they answer. And then finally, the last thing that they answer is weight. And again, it's parent report. Again, this is child weight, right? That they're answering, not their own weight. They're answering about the child's weight. Weight is optional. People do not have to answer weight. We recommend if they have a home scale that it would be very good for them to track weight for their child. But again, that's a decision they could make with their dietitian and their doctor, and depending on if they have a home scale or not. So weight is the only set of questions that you can skip through, if you will, because you have a choice to say no, that I'm not tracking weight. So they'd hit start the survey. Do you weigh your child? Did you weigh your child on a home scale today? Now, on baseline surveys, the answer is probably always going to be no, right? Because chances that they weighed them that morning and remember their weight are very small. So it's fine for them to click no, even if they do want to click weights, track weights. They can go home and get their child's weight that day and then enter it later. So if by chance they did weigh their child that day, they know their weight, they can click yes and put it in. If they're not going to track weights or they just don't know their child's weight, they can click no, and we'll show you how to go back and enter it later.
Can I make just one statement? For the CRAs, I think it will be important to emphasize not to use the clinic weight, because it will be a different
Correct.
scale, obviously. So I like the fact that you have home scale, but I would definitely make sure that the CRAs don't put in or let the parents know that we really want a home weight.
Right. Yeah. Oh, thanks, David, for saying that. That's really important. And Sally, we should probably put one of those red boxes here and really point to home and say this is not for clinic weight, so that when we're training the rest of the teams that we really point that out, because that's a really good point. And the ideal is that if someone is going to track weight, the ideal is that they do go home that day and get their child's weight and put it in, because then the clinic team will always have, okay, we knew today in clinic this child was whatever, 85 pounds, and at home they were 82 on the same day. So they'll know a little bit about the discrepancy between the clinic scale and the home scale, so that one of the things we're looking at is is a child losing too much weight too quickly, and so knowing that discrepancy, again, if a parent is going to track weight, is really helpful. So encouraging parents, if they do plan to track that weight, to go home, weigh their child that same day and enter that, so we know the comparison. Next slide.
We add that too, Lisa, in the red box.
Yeah,
or something on there that just says ideal situation.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's do that. So they'll enter their child's weight in pounds, and then again they'll come up and they'll see this timeline will pop up for them. And then next slide. And that's really it. They what they'll see after that is basically something that says, and we'll show you a little later on, but it's basically say, okay, you're done, you're good to go. You've got this. So then in terms of what we want to show you is just a few things related to some of the notifications that parents get. The app is designed to notify people about some of the key activities they need to do. It doesn't mean that coordinators don't need to do this and track and make sure that families are on track and reach out to them if they're not. But the app is designed to hopefully lighten that load significantly. So one of the things the app reminds about is stool sample reminders. And this is just to show you a little bit about what that would look like, just so you have an idea in your head of what's happening for your patients. So they'll get a notification from Eureka on their phone, and then they'll click on it, and all it says is daily trackers, time to answer your produce tracker, so that it's very, very kind of benign, right? And then when they go into when they click on that notification, it'll take them right here into this produce. You've got something to do. Like there's got 7 things, 7 minutes. They hit start. And in this case, the first thing that we want to remind them about is that they're due for their stool sample. And so they'll hit start. So this is reminding them about that to begin with. And we say, has your child collected and sent in his or her fecal calprotectin sample? And yes or no, they'll collect. They'll check. If they check yes, they'll say, great. This will give you information about how your information might be related. No, we remind them, please collect it, send it in. We'll give you this information about how your diet information might be related. You won't be able to start your next diet until your stool is sent. So we won't advance people till they say they've sent that stool in. And they'll get those notifications daily until they do say they send the stool in. And then continue, after that, the family will continue with completing whatever other daily or weekly trackers they had will all pop up at that time and just follow for them. But they'll get that sort of interaction with the app around the stool sample. Same kind of interaction around when it's time to transition to the next diet. They'll see notification, they'll click the notification, tells the produce has got something going on for you. They'll click that and it'll take them into this page, which triggers them. It's time to switch diets. They'll start the survey. You're scheduled to start your new diet tomorrow. Are you ready to start your next diet tomorrow? And they'll click yes or no. And yes, if they click yes, then they'll get language that's, great. You'll be on this next diet for 8 weeks. If they click no, we'll tell them, we'll ask you again tomorrow. Please start as soon as possible. Call your coordinator if you're having problems with this transition. Again, then whatever other surveys they might have that day, they will get come up next after that. And then when they start on a new diet, this is just to show you what happens. So again, they get a notification. And they click the notification, sorry, I can just go back. I think what we have here is that if you look up at the top of the screen, what people will be seeing at the top of the screen on most screens is what diet they're on and what week they're on. And so that really kind of acts as a guide for them and a reminder. So when someone's just starting a new diet, here they would transition maybe from the usual diet to the modified SCD, and it'll tell them you're on week 1 of the modified SCD. So that's just kind of one of the things that's there to help remind people. Next slide. If they clicked on that little, modified STD that I just showed you, they'll just get a little reminder of what's on the what is the modified STD. Next slide. And then keep going. Yeah, and then they'll just get whatever other trackers again that day that they are due to answer. Next slide. Okay. And then just some additional Eureka app features. Just to show you a few other things that are going on in the app. You can look at this, spend more time with this on your phones as well. But again, we're just showing you that the slide on the left, or the phone screen on the left, shows when people are done, when they have no activities to complete. They'll just get a "you're good for now." And if they go into the app at times when there's nothing to do, that's what they'll see. They'll open up onto the screen, "you're good for now." If they do have things to do or that are needed of them, they'll get the screen on the right, "ready to make an impact, produce, here's what you have to do, here's how long it will take." And always the current diet phase reminder is up on the top, telling them what diet phase they're in, how many weeks they have of it, and if they click on it, they get like one of those little pictures or descriptions of what that diet phase is about. Next slide. Then there's this impact tab. Again, by tabs, I'm talking about kind of at the bottom. What we just looked at was kind of their home screen to the app when they open it up. This is the impact tab, and this is just this gamification and these points and showing people how many points they've earned, etc. And then finally, the profile.
I apologize. Can I ask about the point system? I know it's kind of imaginary, but
Yeah.
So I mean, just if we get the questions,
Yeah.
how quickly do they go up? Do we know a max point? Are there actually levels associated with the points, like cadet, star, fighter? Yeah. I don't know, something of that nature. Yeah. Or is it just the numbers up there?
Yeah, it's, okay, so there are levels associated with the points. The levels don't seem to have names that I know of, that I've ever seen. But there probably are max points. I can ask the development team what they are. This was, sort of this kind of came with the app. It wasn't something that we really asked for. Some people will probably like it. Some people will probably be mildly annoyed by it. Hopefully it doesn't pop up that often to annoy people too much. The one thing I should say is if you're studying these screens and you're a detailed person like I am, don't try to make sense of the point numbers that are on these screens right at the moment, because some of these are older screenshots that we took to prepare this, and the developers were still working on getting all the points to add up, levels to add up, all of those things. So they have promised us it will be working correctly by the time we give this to our first patient. But if you're looking at some of these screens right now, these numbers are not going to jive, and the amount of circles filled in is not going to jive with what you expect it to be. But yeah, but I'll find out what the max value is from them. But it's
No, yeah, we live in a point system world. No, I'm totally good. I just so we can
people ask
offer some sense to the patient sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thanks.
And then profile. If you click on profile, this is where patients can see their data. So this is where they'll always be able to see their data. The parent and the child tab are both here. You can see the child's on the left, parents on the right. The only difference is it indicates, stool consistency versus stool consistency parent report. Next slide. When you click on these different sections, what happens is you see the graphs of the data for that particular measure. The other thing that's critical here, and I'm not sure it may come up more further, but I'm just going to talk about it now in case it doesn't, is that people can change their data here. This is where people can edit data. This would be where people could edit their weight report if they wanted to. People are able to edit their weight tracker and their daily trackers, so stool consistency and stool frequency, for 3 days, for basically 72 hours after they've put it in case they've made a mistake, or in case they didn't put it in for the day before. They can, go and put it in. They can fill in yesterday's in case they didn't do that. And this is where they would do it. They can just click on, once they go into the graph, they'll be able to see. I think we do have a couple slides coming up that show this better, but they'll be able to tell which ones actually are clickable, and they can go in and enter the data or change the point if they feel like they made a mistake, and or they had more stools. They entered, I had 2 stools today, and then late at night they had 2 more, and they want to correct that. They can do all of that. Next slide. I think we do have a better screen of it, so you can see here where, Sally, we have it better. Maybe we show this better going forward, right? Or maybe not. I don't know. Can you go back? Right, go back to the. I couldn't remember if we have a better screen of it or not. But just to show you, so for example, this is weight data. So if a person didn't enter their weight data in clinic, they could go in for 72 hours after that clinic visit and find that day of the clinic visit, click the no data, and they could just enter it. It would just be like the question pops up and they could enter it. When things are turquoise, people can enter data. When the color turns to black, they can't enter the data. So it becomes pretty obvious when things are clickable or not. You can keep going forward, Sally. So the things that they can't change, though, are the pain interference, the GI symptoms, and the Crohn's or the UC activity scores. Once those go in, they can't edit those. Because those are scaled measures where things add up and get converted. So those can't be changed once they've finished it. Next slide. But everything has a graph associated with it. Oh, here's the slide I was thinking of. So here, Sally's got for us, you can see that for 3 days going backwards, if they either didn't enter data or they need to change it for some reason, they can click on these turquoise colors. The question comes up and they enter it, and then the new data shows up on the graph. So I'm going to stop talking now. That was a super fast run through of the app and what people are experiencing from registration to baseline to then what they, are doing daily as those same trackers. But I'm going to stop talking now and turn the screen, the screens over to Sally, who's going to talk to you a little bit about the admin panel. So the place where you're actually going to be doing most of your work outside of the baseline app with the families.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, and this is a section where most people will be working in. You'll be able to monitor participants here. You'll be able to do things like change their passwords. So when you go back to the admin panel, you'll be able to click on the 2 different participant buttons on the screens, and that'll take you back to that main page that lists all of the participant information. Each site is only going to be able to see the participants for their site, so you won't be able to see any participants from anywhere else. I'll try to run through this pretty quick so we have time for questions, but you'll see at the top, it'll list the total number of users that you have, your active users who are enrolled, consented users, confirmed users. Admin users will be the number. It'll probably be 1 or 2 for ever how many coordinators have admin access to this panel. Then down in the table, you're going to see the participant ID. That's the Eureka participant ID number. Next to that, you'll see the name of either the parent or the child. And it'll have their email address, the associated child's name with the parents, the child's date of birth, the parent's date of birth, whether or not they're active in the study, whether or not they've consented to the study, and the date of the consent. Over on the randomization side, all you'll see is SED or MSED. You won't see that randomized exclamation point button. And then whether or not over there all the way on the right, they have admin access. So right now we're going to look at the participant profile for Kathy Test 3. She's a parent here. When you click on the name, this is the screen that you're going to see. This has the parent's information at the top. You'll see right under it the child's name, the child's date of birth, the Eureka ID number, the ICN number will be listed there, the parent's date of birth. Trigger next diet stage, that looks like a button that you'll be able to click, but you won't actually be able to click that. If a participant, for whatever reason, needs to move to the next diet stage, the coordinator will contact us here at Cincinnati Children's, and we will do that for you. You'll also see down in the middle of the screen, you'll see the contact information for the parents. The cell number will be listed there next to cell. You can look at the participant's current diet, and you can also see the next diet that they're going to be moving on to. How many weeks they've been in the study, child information will be listed down there, and the child's cell number will also be listed. If you go back up to the top, you'll see that basic info is highlighted right now. That's the tab we're on. And this is, again, the bottom of the screen. You'll see the paper consent, the date that it was approved. And also, once we start uploading the fecal cow results into the profile, this is where you're going to see it here on the bottom at fecal cow results. So then when you click to the next tab, you're in the activity tab, and this is going to show you how many surveys the parent participant has completed. Right now we're on week 1, so you can see that they've completed all of the surveys for week 1. Over there on the right of the screen, you'll see 100%. That lets you know that they've answered 100% of the survey questions. This is where you'll be able to monitor how well they're tracking. It'll list the percentage for each week. So as we mentioned on the screen earlier, during the baseline period, it's really important that the parent tracks 50% of the time over the 2-week baseline period. So this is where you'll be able to monitor that activity, and moving forward, you'll be able to monitor how well they're doing that and if you need to intervene or not. Then if we click over to the message tab, this is where any messages will be put in. Sorry, we don't have any information in there yet. The health data tab, this is the top of the tab. This is where you will see all of the survey answers graphed, like what the participant sees in their profile tab. This is going to be where those surveys are also tracked. You see stool consistency, stool frequency. If we click to the next page, we have pain interference, the GI symptoms, and their disease activity will also be graphed. We don't have any information graphed in there yet in this sample that we have here, but you'll see that later on down the line. And then the final results tab, this is where you'll see the information at the end of the study. This is where the physician will be going in and looking at the results that they can share with the participant. And then finally, we have a notes section where anybody can enter any information that they think is notable, that they want just to keep track of, or if they think if the coordinator thinks a dietitian or a physician needs to see anything, that can be noted here. Now, if you need to edit any of the user's information, say change an email, change the password, you want to click on the associated Eureka ID. So we're back with Kathy Test 3 now, and we're going to click on her Eureka ID, and we're going to see this screen, and this is going to edit the user information. So you'll see it has their names listed there. It has email, their password. This is where you can click that or edit all of that. All you need to do is enter in the new information and click the edit button, and it will change that. And so now we're going to look at what it looks like when we have a parent with a child who's also going to be tracking in the study. So we're back with Kathy Test 3, and she has Kathy Child 2 listed here. They're usually going to be right next to each other on your main participant profile screen, but there might be a chance that they're 1 or 2 lines, so just keep that in mind. But the child's name will always be listed with the parent's name on this table. So we're going to click, and also, sorry, in the parent tab, you'll also see, of course, as we mentioned earlier, the child information is in there in 2 different spots. So if we click in Kathy Child 2, we're going to see the child's profile pop up. Really, it's basically just the same as what you're going to see in the parent's profile, except it's going to have the child's information up there. The parent information will be where the child information is in the parent's profile. All of the tabs are generally the same. You'll be able to see how well the child is tracking. Messages are the same. Health data will be graphing the data that the child has entered for themselves. It's not going to show what the parents have entered. So I'm just going to fly through that for time. And then, so we're back now to the onboarding process when the participant is going to be randomized into one of the 2 diets. And when you go into the admin panel, you'll be able to see that again over there in the randomization column. That's going to tell you which diet they have been randomized into. And so if we go back into a participant profile, I pointed this out earlier, but you'll be able to see what their current diet is and what their next diet is going to be. And so
wait, Sally, hey Sally, where's their next diet? Oh, I see it right underneath
next
it.
diet
okay.
right below.
So
yeah.
So does everybody, this is a really important part, so I just want to make sure people get that. The diet they're randomized to is the diet. If you can just flip back one to that screen, Sally. So this is your main population panel. And for your patients, it should really always say STD or MSTD. Once they get, that's correct, right, Sally? Once they're in this platform, they should be randomized.
It won't say randomized.
Yeah.
That's just what we're testing right now in here.
Yeah. So you'll always see if they're STD or MSTD, and that randomized column is the diet that they start with. That's their starting diet in the study. That's really important for you guys as coordinators to know, because you'll have to communicate that to your dietitians, because that's going to drive what intervention they teach, what diets they teach in baseline. So you always will have to look that up. But then if you click on, like Kathy said, I guess the patient's name, when you go in, you can see what diet they're on right now, because even though someone's been randomized to the MSTD, if it's just at baseline, they're going to be on their usual diet for 2 weeks. And then it'll show you what their next diet is. And those diets will change over the course of the timeline of the study. So in 2 weeks, when the person starts their first intervention diet, current diet will become MSTD, next diet will become STD. But that randomized column on that first page we looked at, the population panel will always tell you, here's where they started.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. So I touched a little bit on this, but monitoring their adherence, tracking using the admin panel. Again, this is going to be very important, especially for the coordinators to keep track of. Again, during the baseline period, the parent must track at least 50% of the time for them to be able to continue on with the study. If they don't, they're going to be withdrawn. So this is where you're going to be able to see each weekly percentage, and we're also talking to Eureka about possibly being able to put just like an aggregate percentage for all the weeks that they've been in the study and been answering their trackers. And so that.
And so Sally, it looked like if you just go back to that for a second. So when things are gray, families haven't, or the parent hasn't answered that particular tracker for a day, correct? And when they're green, correct, it means yes, they did answer it. Yes. And so some of the trackers are going to be daily trackers. So, come up 7 times during the week, stool consistency and stool frequency. You'll see them repeated over and over again. And then some of those trackers are just once a week. So you'll only see them coming up once each week, period.
Does the app show the progression? So if like 2 weeks ago, they didn't answer some questions, and this week they didn't answer some questions, do you get both of those sets of information, or do you just get the most recent week?
No, Sally, correct me if I'm wrong, but it'll show you, this is just, you'll see every single week listed on this page. You'll just scroll through it, right, Sally? Every week up once it.
Yes, exactly. So if on this page, and we only have 1 week of data for this participant, but the check marks that you see is all a drop-down menu for when you click on, say, week 1. So you can click on week 1. All the weeks will be listed there like that. So you'll see, like, in the 7th week in the study, there will be week 1 through 7 listed here that you'll be able to see. It'll just open up to that when you open this tab, and then you can click on each week to see the drop-down menu that you see here that shows you what they have and have not answered. So yeah, it's going to keep track of every week while they're in the study.
Okay, cool.
And the other place where this gives you the specific data, right? The breakdown, the percentage, like what you really need to determine can someone stay in the study, etc. But the graphs, again, our graphs are just all testing accounts, so they only have a few days worth of data because we keep clearing the testing system and restarting. But the graphs will also do a pretty good job of showing you, like, you'll be able to see, are people putting in data or not, because there'll just be holes in that data if they're not entering stuff. So it's another place to get a nice visual of what they're doing over time as well. So you guys, we flew through this. We know that you're going to need to sit with these slides and, kind of go through it and also then, we'll give you access, obviously, to the admin panel. Will be really important to just play around. But any questions, especially, Stephanie and Aditi, any questions from what we've said? and it's okay if you don't. I think, it's okay to kind of take some time and process the stuff and look at it. And then, we're very, very available to meet with you, to answer questions on the phone, whatever you need.
Can I just throw out another thought? I apologize. I think what will also be important for all of us when we are talking with the families and the kids about the study is that I can imagine this becoming very, very annoying to the child because the parent is going to be asking, hey, how many times have you pooped? Or how? And so I think we should be upfront when we talk to the families, or not to the children, saying, you know what, it may get a little bit annoying for you, but know that this is us asking your parents to do this, just because there might be some headbutting down the road if it's every day. So right. I'll just throw that out as an issue we should bring up during our visits.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely right. I think that's a really great point, and thank you for pointing that out. And sometimes what we've had families do for other studies is so that parents don't even have to ask. They'll just text their kid. Like they'll come up with a system where they text their kid something. Not how many times did you poop, but something, and they just have a plan where every day, at the end of the day, they don't even have to talk about it. They just do it by text. So that's one way, especially for older teenagers, that has worked well. But yeah, I think that it's a really, so I think that one, kind of just calling it out from the beginning. And then I think two, if we can get creative and help families think for themselves about what might work for them and the way they operate, so that it's not mom every single day nagging you about how many times you pooped, I think is great. So yeah.
No, I like that text
really,
idea.
Really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because then they don't even have to talk about it, right? It's just,
right.
Yeah.
Sure it is.
So, yeah. Stephanie and Aditi, any questions from your end?
I don't have any questions. But you guys had mentioned that the recording would be available, and just thinking with Mason starting shortly and things, do you know when that might be available for additional CRAs?
It looks like we recorded it.
Did we record this one, guys?
Yes, Sally's recording it, so we can make it available. We can make it available right away. We are working on, we hope later this week, getting you guys access to the actual app and admin panel, so we will definitely keep you posted on that. But since we did record this session, we'll go ahead and get that out to you guys right away.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
And we'll send you guys the slide deck too, or wherever you post it, wherever Michelle, whatever your process is, Michelle, wherever it posts, so you can have that as a resource. Yeah, and we definitely will. We'll also be training other sites in a few weeks. So depending on Mason's timing, again, if he wants to join a live training as well, he can do that. But I guess, like from our end, so the app right now is just moving into production. We've got it in production on Android. It takes a few more days to happen on the Apple App Store. So as soon as those apps go into production or become available on on the Apple and Play Store, then we can get accounts set up for you guys, so that it's a very seamless process that you can test, play around with the app as well as get into this admin panel. So we will do that.
When are we thinking that we can start recruiting?
Michelle, you have her so much better than I am with the timeline. I want to say it's going to be mid-March, right? Because it's getting the sites trained and activated, right? And it's the CRFs are probably going to be our biggest hang up, right? It'll push us to mid-March.
Yeah, so hopefully the week of the 19th, David. So I know that's still a few weeks out, but Monday, the 19th of March, hopefully that week will be the first week we can get going. We have to do a CRF training, and they're finishing up our CRF database, so keep your fingers crossed that will be sooner rather than later, but The latest that it should be would be they'd be finished on the 16th, so I could train everyone on the 19th, which would be a Monday, and then everyone could start recruiting. You all, Stanford and Seattle, could start recruiting that week.
Awesome. Awesome.
And then, the other sites will be soon after that.
Right.
Okay. Perfect.
Where are we at, Lisa, as far as the like glitches and stuff in the app being totally ready?
The app, the app is in pretty darn good shape. They're working on today. They're working on the password reset had a bug in it, at least for Apple.
Yes.
So that's getting fixed today. Other than that, it's small things which are, inconsequential. There's a wrong word on some pages, but not a database word. There's these point counter things are making me crazy because they're not counting right. They've told me they can get that cleanup done this week. We're clearly not ready. Even though we're in production, they can clean it up and that'll be fine. So it's those kinds of things. Everything else in terms of the major issues, anything that would impact data, major things in the app, it's really working quite smoothly. I went through the Android this morning and it was, working beautifully. And in production, I pulled it off of the Play Store and it was working beautifully. So,
great.
It's just like a little cleanup things. Yeah, it's just little cleanup things that need to be done. So we'll be in good shape by the 12th or 19th, whenever we're able to.
Do you want us to keep practicing with them?
With the app?
Just to see if,
Yeah, it would be great. And I think that, Sally, I don't want to misspeak, but what Kathy's going to be able to do for us is people are going to just be able to pull it off the App Store or the Play Store like a normal app, right? And sign up and use it that way, correct? Am I saying that right, Sally? Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Okay, we won't have to go through test site every time.
Right. And yeah, exactly. So so that will happen as soon as it gets approved through Apple. So hopefully by midweek we should be there.
Okay, I'll wait to download it that way then to keep practicing.
Yeah.
Or keep trying it out.
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome. This is super helpful.
Okay, great. So, Aditi and Stephanie, please, as you look at this stuff, this is a lot of information that we just threw at you guys very quickly. But as you look at it, please let us know what you need from us to make this more clear, to help you feel more comfortable, and to just, we're happy to walk through this again, to answer questions, etc. Some of this is new for us. We've been all looking at this app. I mean, our team at Cincinnati has been looking at it for the past almost 12 months now. So it's hard to know what's not clear. So please don't hesitate to ask us and let us know what you need. And it'll be really helpful for us to know what makes sense to you and what doesn't, so we can do a better job of training the other sites who are even less familiar with what's going on than, each of your teams are. So if something's not clear or you don't understand it, don't think it's you. Assume it's us, that we haven't done it right or explained it well, and, just let us know and we will, do whatever you guys need.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
Much.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for staying a few minutes. I think, that's it, right? Is that it, Sally and Michelle? We're good?
Good. That's it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.